I got home early that Thursday. Not for any special reason, just one of those rare moments when the universe hands you a free hour and you think, yeah, let's do something good with this. A meeting at work had been canceled. I left the office without the usual rush hour dread. I even stopped to grab coffee, not from the drive-thru, but from that little spot near the train station Caitlin used to love. The plan was to surprise my daughters and pick them up from their art class. Maybe even grab ice cream on the way home. It was supposed to be one of those moments you file under being a good dad. But the second I opened the front door, I knew something was wrong. It hit me instantly, the scent. Sharp, musky, and foreign. Cologne I didn't recognize. And I know how that sounds, like I'm reaching, like my brain was already searching for betrayal. But that smell didn't belong in our house. It was too fresh, too deliberate. For a second, I just stood in the entryway. I looked around, scanning for, I don't know what, evidence? An intruder? A reason to doubt my instincts? Then I saw it. A men's coat. Thick, tailored, probably expensive. Definitely not mine. It was hanging right next to my worn-out windbreaker, like it had every right to be there. I didn't touch it, just stared at it like it might tell me what the hell was going on. Upstairs, I heard the water running. The shower. I listened, not moving, not even breathing too loud. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it's her brother. Maybe someone stopped by and got soaked in the rain. But her brother lives 2 states away. And it hadn't rained. Still, I didn't storm up the stairs or shout. I just stood there, heart-pounding, logic-battling instinct. My first reaction wasn't anger. It was confusion, disbelief. Like my brain was trying to bend the world into a shape that still made sense. A few minutes later, Caitlin appeared at the top of the stairs. Hair wet, wrapped in a white bathrobe I hadn't seen her wear in months. She had this blank expression, a kind of casual neutrality that chilled me more than if she'd looked panicked or guilty. "Oh," she said, brushing damp hair off her forehead. "You're home early." "Yeah," I replied, eyes fixed on her but aware of everything else. The scent still lingering, the coat, the echo of the water shutting off. Meeting got canceled. Thought I'd surprise the girls. She came down the stairs slowly, like nothing was out of place. Then she noticed the direction of my gaze. Her eyes flicked to the coat, just for a second. And then, like she'd rehearsed it, she said, "One of the neighbors stopped by, got caught in the rain. I let him use the bathroom and grab a towel." "Neighbor," I repeated. "Yeah, the guy across the street. Alan." "Alan? The guy who barely waves when I bring the trash cans out? That Alan? Didn't know you two were close," I said. She smiled faintly. "We're not. He just knocked. Random. Honestly, I barely talked to him. He seemed off." The whole thing felt like a scene in a play where the actors know their lines but not the tone. Something was missing. Emotion. Warmth. Even her eye contact was off. Like she was speaking through me, not to me. I didn't press it. I nodded. Walked past her like I believed it. I didn't. Not fully. But I needed time to think. To breathe. To figure out if I was being paranoid or if I just brushed against something that would shatter everything. I told her I was heading out to get the girls. She kissed me on the cheek. A kiss that felt like a placeholder. As I drove, my thoughts twisted into a spiral I couldn't escape. I kept smelling that cologne in my mind. Kept seeing that jacket on the hook. What man brings his coat inside if he's just caught in the rain and popping in for 5 minutes? Why didn't I hear the front door open or close? Why was she in the shower? I tried to distract myself. Played music. Rolled down the windows. Told myself I was overthinking. The girls were waiting outside their art class, grinning when they saw me. Ava ran to the car with paint on her hands. June held up a lopsided clay cat she'd made, demanding I guess what it was. It grounded me. For a moment, I believed life could still be simple. We stopped at the frozen yogurt place they liked. I let them pile on gummy worms and cookie dough and told them they had to eat vegetables with dinner to balance it out. I was playing the part, smiling, nodding, but inside, I was unraveling. Back in the car, I sat there with the engine running, letting the girls argue about whether mint chip ice cream was disgusting or elite. My phone buzzed in the center console. It was from Caitlin. I glanced at it, expecting something casual. Did they behave? Or grab milk if you stop at the store? But it wasn't that. The message read, "We're in paradise. The kids are your responsibility." That was it. No punctuation. No explanation. Not even my name. I read it twice, then a third time, then stared at it until the letters blurred. What did that even mean? We're in paradise. Who's we? And, the kids are your responsibility? What? Like she was handing them off like a babysitter shift. My heart dropped into my stomach. I felt lightheaded, like the world had tilted and I was the only one trying to stand upright. I looked in the rearview mirror. June was trying to get paint off her jeans. Ava was humming some song from their art class. They had no idea. I didn't say anything. I drove home on autopilot, hands tight on the wheel, my pulse roaring in my ears. When we pulled into the driveway, the house looked normal, peaceful, like nothing had changed. But when I stepped inside, the coat was gone. So was Caitlin. No note, no shoes by the door, no sound from upstairs. The robe from earlier was folded neatly on the laundry bench. I checked the garage, her car was gone too. The girls didn't notice anything was off. They ran to the kitchen, begging for snacks, arguing over who got to pick the movie for later. I told them I'd be upstairs for a few minutes and slipped into our bedroom. Her closet was half empty. Some of her clothes were gone. Just the favorites. The ones she packed when we went to Costa Rica 2 years ago. One drawer was pulled halfway open. The one with her passport, travel-sized toiletries, the little jewelry box she kept hidden behind a stack of scarves. I opened it. Empty. That's when I knew. This wasn't impulsive. It wasn't a neighbor, or a forgotten jacket, or an awkward coincidence. It was a decision. One she'd made before I walked through the door that afternoon. And I had just walked into the first scene of a life that had already moved on without me. That night I didn't sleep. I laid in bed, staring at the ceiling like it might give me answers. The girls were asleep in their rooms down the hall, unaware that their mother had vanished. I kept waiting for another text. A call. A follow-up message that said, "Sorry, that last one was a mistake." I didn't mean it like that, but nothing came. Just silence. Thick and final. Around 3 a.m. I gave up pretending I could sleep. I went downstairs and sat at the kitchen table with a mug of cold tea. I didn't touch it. I just sat there in the dark, lit only by the dim light above the stove, letting the weight of the day settle on my chest like concrete. And that's when my brain started doing what it always does, rewinding, replaying, reviewing old footage of my life frame by frame, looking for what I missed. Because somewhere in the last few months, maybe the last year, things had shifted. I just hadn't wanted to admit it. Started small, the way it always does. Caitlin had stopped wearing her wedding ring. I noticed it one morning when she reached for her coffee. Her left hand was bare. I made some light comment, "Going minimalist now?" And she laughed, saying she must have left it in the bathroom after showering. Days passed. No ring. Eventually, I asked, half joking, "You planning on getting that thing resized? Or just abandoning the whole concept of marriage?" She rolled her eyes. "Relax. I lost it at the gym. Probably fell off during yoga or something. I'll get a replacement." But she never did. And after a while I stopped asking. Then came the drives. She'd started going for evening drives alone. Said they cleared her head, helped her think. At first I encouraged it. We've got 2 young girls. The noise alone could make anyone crave silence. But the drives got longer, more frequent. She'd leave after dinner and come back after midnight. When I asked where she went, she'd shrug. Nowhere really, just around. Sometimes she'd come back with fast food wrappers in the passenger seat. Other times with perfume I didn't recognize lingering on her scarf. Once, I caught a faint smell of alcohol. She claimed it was from a stop at a friend's house, wine night, last-minute thing. I wanted to believe her. She started texting more, but I never saw who. Her phone lived face down. She used to show me funny memes or random things her sister posted. That stopped too. The screen would light up, and she'd glance at it, smile to herself, and lock it without a word. Then came the girls' trips. 3 in the past 6 months. Different cities. No real plans. Each one announced suddenly. We booked it last minute, and always right after some argument or long silence between us. I asked if she had pictures from her last trip to Nashville, and she said her phone died. No photos, no selfies, no tags. Funny how her battery always seemed full when she was home. A few weeks ago, a new suitcase showed up in the closet. She said it was a gift for her sister's birthday. I never saw it leave the house. Then one night she came home late. I was already in bed. The clock read 1:42 a.m. I remember because I'd been checking every 15 minutes since 11. I heard the front door, then the soft shuffle of her heels on the floorboards. I waited for her to come upstairs. She didn't. I found her asleep on the couch the next morning, still in the black dress she'd left in. Makeup smudged, her phone clutched loosely in her hand. I stood there for a full minute, wondering if this was the moment I was supposed to say something. I didn't. I made breakfast for the girls instead, because part of me didn't want the answer. The truth is, I'd been living in a kind of emotional autopilot. You tell yourself she's stressed. We both are. It's just a phase. You blame the kids, the job, the mortgage, the routine. And then she's gone. Vanished. Like the life you built was a paper set and someone yanked the backdrop down. She hadn't just walked out. She'd planned this. The message, the missing clothes, the empty drawer. All of it meant something. It wasn't spontaneous. It wasn't dramatic. It was strategic. A quiet erasure of a life. I opened her drawer that night, the one in our shared dresser she used to keep her journals and travel-sized toiletries in. All her essentials were gone. Passport, sunglasses, the blue bikini she swore didn't fit anymore but never tossed, the charger for her smartwatch. All the little things you'd only pack if you knew you weren't coming back anytime soon. She hadn't just left the house. She'd exited the role of mother, of wife, of partner, without a conversation, a fight, or a single goodbye. And yet, she still texted me from her number. That message: we're in paradise. The kids are your responsibility. Not our kids. The kids. That phrasing stuck in my head like a splinter. We're in paradise. Who was we? And where was paradise? I pulled out the family calendar we used to keep on the fridge. Color-coded entries, mostly my doing. I liked having things mapped out: school plays, dentist appointments, work trips. Her company retreat had been scheduled for next weekend. 3 days out of state. She hadn't mentioned it in weeks. Had she moved it up? Had she even been planning to go alone? I opened the group chat we shared with her sister and her cousin, the one they used to plan birthday gifts and vacations. Nothing in the past 2 weeks. Caitlin hadn't responded to the last message about June's recital. That wasn't like her. I checked her social media next. Nothing new posted. But someone had liked one of her old beach photos, the kind we took on vacation 2 summers ago in the Keys. No location tag. No caption. But that's when it hit me. The old suitcase. The missing bikini. The tropical-sounding message. She didn't just leave. She flew somewhere. And she didn't want to be found. I sat in that dark kitchen until dawn, piecing together every little inconsistency I'd ignored. Every late night. Every shrug. Every excuse. She hadn't become distant by accident. She'd been drawing a map, a quiet trail of breadcrumbs I'd chosen not to follow. Until now. Morning light filtered through the curtains like it didn't know anything had changed. Like everything was normal. Like my wife hadn't vanished without saying goodbye. The girls were up early. I made waffles, overcompensating, I guess. I let them dump whipped cream on top and told them it was a special day. They didn't ask why. They were still young enough to believe every day could be special. Just because I said so. Caitlin didn't text. Didn't call. Didn't explain. After breakfast, I parked them in front of a movie and went upstairs. I needed answers. Not guesses, not hunches. Cold, factual truth. I dug out our old laptop, the one we used before we each got our own work-issued ones. It had been gathering dust in the bedroom closet, but it was still plugged into the wall. Caitlin used to sync her phone to it occasionally when she ran out of storage. Photos, messages, backup files, she was meticulous once upon a time. I opened it. It was still logged into her profile. Password-free, auto-login. That was her pattern, convenience over security. She always assumed privacy was implied in marriage. So did I. The screen lit up. Her desktop was cluttered with random folders. Taxes_2023, June birthday pics, work docs, and then one that stopped me cold. I clicked it. Inside were image folders, each one timestamped from recent months. I clicked the newest one. It loaded slowly, the fan humming under the keyboard, and then a cascade of photos filled the screen. Beach, sunlight, cocktails with little umbrellas, sun hats, sandy feet, blurry sh*ts of a private pool at golden hour. Some were selfies, just her in sunglasses, smiling like she didn't have a care in the world. And then there it was. One photo. Her, on a white hammock, nestled against a man's chest, his arm around her waist. His head leaned in close like he'd done it 100 times before. I stared at it, frozen. My stomach turned to ice, because I knew that face. Grayson. He wasn't just some random guy. He wasn't a stranger from a beach bar. He was someone I used to know, used to trust. Grayson was a former colleague. We worked together for years. He helped me land my first promotion. Came over for barbecues. He held Ava when she was 2 days old. He borrowed tools from my garage and returned them polished. He fixed our fence when I threw out my back. He was around. He was always around. And now he was on a hammock, wrapped around my wife like it was nothing. I clicked through the rest of the folder. More pictures, some candid, some posed. Caitlin smiling beside Grayson on a yacht, drinking wine. Grayson kissing her shoulder while she laughed. The kind of photos couples take on honeymoon cruises. Carefree, *mate, like they belonged to each other. There was one short video clip. The screen was shaky at first. Maybe she filmed it walking along a dock. She turned the camera to herself, her face sunburned and grinning. Then to Grayson, shirtless, laughing as he poured drinks. He looked right into the lens and said, "Paradise, baby." I closed the video. My heart was thudding, but not fast. Slow, heavy, like it had to drag every beat through a wall of concrete. I opened her email next. It was still synced. In her inbox were confirmation emails. One for a pair of tickets, flights to Panama. Booked 2 weeks ago. Departed yesterday morning. Under passengers, I saw the names. Caitlin Harper and Grayson West. First class. There was also a hotel reservation, an all-inclusive resort, known for privacy and seclusion. Those were the actual words in the email's marketing copy. A luxury suite with a private infinity pool. 6 nights. I checked the date. She told me she had a company retreat in Denver. Same weekend. She'd lied to my face. But it wasn't just the lie. It was how cleanly she had built the lie. Like she'd done it before. Like she'd practiced. I backed out of her email and opened her notes app. 12 entries. Grocery lists. Reminders. And one titled Packing. I clicked it. It listed everything in tidy bullet points. Blue bikini. White sundress. Chargers. Passport. Allergy meds for G. Gifts for resort staff. Optional. Backup phone. Wipe before trip. Backup phone? I swallowed hard. I'd missed everything. Or maybe I hadn't. Maybe I saw it all and just didn't want to believe it. I closed the laptop and just sat there. The whir of the fan faded into silence. The screen dimmed to black. This wasn't a spontaneous mistake. This was planned. This wasn't a bad night. This was a new life she'd already stepped into. Without me. Without the kids. She wasn't spiraling. She wasn't confused. She was gone. On purpose. And worse, she was happy. I thought about the man in the photo, Grayson. All those weekends he came by to help with the shelves or check out the AC. Caitlin had offered him lemonade in the kitchen while I worked outside. She laughed a little too easily when he joked. I remember seeing her brush lint off his shoulder once. I thought it was innocent. He was a friend. Now I wondered how long I'd been the third wheel in my own marriage. I got up and opened our closet again. I scanned the top shelf. Her yoga mat was gone. So were her running shoes. She'd even taken the silk pillowcase she used to complain I always stole. All signs pointed to one thing. She wasn't coming back. Not for me. Not for the girls. And the message? We're in paradise. The kids are your responsibility. That wasn't a slip of the tongue. It was a send-off, a declaration, a line drawn in digital ink. I spent the rest of the day pretending everything was normal. The girls played outside. I grilled hot dogs and asked about their favorite movies. I tucked them in that night with kisses and bedtime stories. But the moment their doors clicked shut, I was back at the kitchen table, laptop open, reviewing everything again like I was building a case file. Because that's what this was now. Not just betrayal. This was abandonment. I wasn't a heartbroken husband. I was the parent of 2 daughters whose mother had chosen a hammock and a hotel suite over being their mom. And whether Caitlin realized it or not, there were going to be consequences. By Monday morning, the shock had calcified into something colder. Not anger, not yet, but clarity. A hard, focused kind. The kind you get when something inside you snaps just enough to stop hoping and start moving. I didn't call Caitlin. I didn't text. I didn't ask for explanations or apologies. I didn't sit around wondering how she was able to trade in a family for a beach and a man with a tan line where his wedding ring used to be. Instead, I opened a Google Doc and titled it Custody Preparation. Because if she wasn't coming back, if she'd chosen someone else and somewhere else over her own kids, then I needed to make sure the girls were protected. That they had structure. That they had me. Not drifting half-promises from a woman sipping cocktails in a cabana. By 9:15 a.m., I had a meeting booked with a local family law attorney. Her name was Elise Navarro, recommended by a coworker who went through a brutal divorce and said she didn't smile, but she wins. That was good enough for me. When I walked into her office, I half expected to feel embarrassed, like I was tattling or overreacting. But Elise didn't blink. She listened, took notes, asked hard, pointed questions. Do you have proof she left the state? Yes. Plane tickets, hotel confirmation, all under her name. Do you have evidence she left the children without arranging care or notice? I nodded. She texted me. One line. The kids are your responsibility. Elisa's eyes didn't even flicker. That's abandonment. We can work with that. I handed her a flash drive with the backup files I pulled from Caitlin's laptop. The photos. The itinerary. *TS of the text message. She plugged it into her computer and started scrolling. She's in Panama? Elise asked. Yeah, with him. Grayson. She said it like a prosecutor lining up targets. Okay, she said, pulling up a form. Here's what we'll do. Emergency petition for full temporary custody. Immediate filing. We'll freeze joint access to your financials, especially if there's a chance she's charging that resort to shared accounts. Have you checked? No, I said, suddenly realizing I hadn't even looked. Check tonight, Elise said. Also, don't talk to her. Not unless she contacts you. Don't threaten. Don't accuse. If she calls, say nothing beyond. I'll let my attorney handle it. Got it? I nodded. We spent the next hour reviewing timelines, setting up filing logistics, and preparing the initial petition. She warned me it might take a few days for everything to process, but that we'd have temporary custodial control filed and documented within 48 hours. That evening, I logged into our joint banking app and almost choked. She'd charged over $4,600 in 4 days. Spa treatments, room service, an island excursion, a tab from something called Captain Soul's Luxury Catamaran. It read more like a honeymoon receipt than a getaway. I **Ted every transaction, forwarded them to Elise. By morning, she had drafted a motion to freeze joint accounts and filed it before 10 a.m. By Tuesday afternoon, I was listed as the sole guardian on the girls' school file. Elise helped me file paperwork giving me authority to pick them up, authorize medical care, and sign all school-related documents. Caitlin's name wasn't removed, just marked inactive, pending review. The school counselor called to ask if everything was okay. I told her, calmly, there's been a temporary family shift. The girls are safe and cared for. I left it at that. I wasn't interested in gossip. But the thing about silence travels faster than shouting. Caitlin finally reached out on Wednesday morning. Not with a call, just a text. Can we talk? I'm flying back soon. I stared at it for a while, drafted a dozen replies, deleted them all. Eventually I wrote, please contact Elise Navarro. She represents me now. No emojis, no punctuation, just a message as clean and cold as the one she sent me 4 days earlier. The next day she called. I let it ring. She called again. I declined it. Then came the third, this time a voicemail. I listened once. She sounded tired. Her voice was raspy and thin. Lucas, I didn't mean for things to happen like this. I needed time. I didn't plan to stay away this long. Please don't do anything drastic. I'm coming back. I saved it, forwarded the file to Elise. By Thursday, Caitlin was back. I didn't know she'd arrived until I saw her car in the driveway when I came back from dropping the girls off at school. She was sitting on the front steps, dressed casually, sunglasses in her hair, no luggage. When I stepped out of the car, she stood quickly, like she'd rehearsed the whole thing. Lucas, she started. I know you're mad. I know how this looks. But I walked past her, straight to the front door. She followed. You're not even going to talk to me? She said. I've been trying to reach you. Anything you want to say, I said without turning. You can say through Elise. Lucas, come on. I didn't abandon anyone. I opened the door and stepped inside. I just needed space, she said, still lingering on the porch. Grayson invited me and God, I didn't expect you to go nuclear. You locked me out of everything. She was right. I had financial accounts frozen. Her name no longer had access to our credit lines. School permissions stripped. Custody filed for emergency control and signed by a judge just the day before. She didn't know yet. So when I handed her the manila envelope Elise had overnight for her, the one with the official documentation, I watched her face closely. She opened it slowly. Inside were 5 neatly clipped packets. One for custody, one for asset control, one for school authorization, one for legal counsel, and one with the photos, not for court, not for drama, just for her. Her hands trembled as she flipped through them. This is insane, she whispered. No, I said. What you did was insane. This is just. What comes next? She looked up at me. Eyes red, jaw tight. You blindsided me. Like you blindsided the girls? I asked. Like you blindsided me? There was silence. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't slam doors. I didn't cry. I just stood there and let her read what she'd written for herself when she boarded that flight. We're in paradise. The kids are your responsibility. Her own words, now legal context. The most painful thing I've ever read had become the most powerful tool I had. She stood there for another minute, then turned, got in her car, and drove off. I didn't chase her. I didn't watch her go. I went back inside, picked up the cereal the girls had left scattered on the counter, and started planning dinner. Because the only thing that mattered now was them. And no one, not even their mother, was going to throw their lives into chaos and walk away like it was a vacation. Not on my watch. The first real crack came 2 days later, in the form of a phone call from the school. It was the front office secretary, Mrs. Langford, kind woman, always smelled like lavender. Hi, Mr. Harper. Just wanted to inform you that your wife was here this afternoon. Caitlin. My grip on the phone tightened. She came to pick up Ava and June. I didn't say anything. She didn't make a scene, Mrs. Langford continued, her voice cautious. But when we checked the records, we saw the custodial update and, well, we told her she'd need to speak with administration before anything. She didn't have prior approval, I said. Correct, she replied. She left without further issue, but she was upset. I thanked her and hung up. So, Caitlin thought she could just slip back in like nothing had happened. She thought she could show up at the girls' school, after disappearing to paradise with her boyfriend, and walk off with them like it was a Saturday mall trip. She didn't understand the new rules yet. Or maybe she just didn't think they applied to her. That night, Ava asked me why Mommy came to school but didn't say hi. I didn't know what to tell her. I said, Mommy made some choices that she's still figuring out. But we're okay. You're safe. And you're loved. They believed me. Or they wanted to. But things weren't quiet for long. By the end of the week, the rumors started. A photo of Caitlin on a catamaran popped up in the PDA group chat. One of the moms, Nikki, I think, had stumbled across it while scrolling social media. The caption was simple. Getaway vibes palm tree sparkles. Posted by someone tagging the resorts page. Caitlin was in the background. Unmistakable. Same sunglasses. Same bathing suit. Grayson's arms slung around her shoulders like they'd done this 100 times. Someone zoomed in. Someone sent it to the wrong person. And just like that, it made the rounds. I didn't post anything. Didn't respond. But I started getting messages from people I hadn't spoken to in months. Hey man, is everything okay? I saw something online. Just checking in. Is it true? They wanted gossip. Confirmation. Or maybe just to see if the story was real. I ignored most of them. Until I got a message that made my heart stop. It was from an unknown number. Hi Lucas. I'm Grayson's wife. My stomach dropped. I believe we have something in common. Her name was Elise too. Not the lawyer. This one spelled it with a Z. Eliza. Elegant. Polite. Measured even in betrayal. We agreed to talk the next morning. Not in person. Just a call. She spoke like she'd rehearsed it. Like she was holding herself together with tape and adrenaline. He told me he was going on a business retreat, she said. I checked the phone records after the charges hit our joint account. I thought it was suspicious. He'd been distant for months. I assumed stress. I nodded silently on my end. Then she added, I found texts. Some emails. It's been going on a while. Longer than we thought, probably. How long? I asked, afraid of the answer. 6 months, maybe longer. He deleted a lot. She didn't cry. Neither did I. Instead, she said something that stuck with me. Cheaters always forget their lives are connected to other people's. They think it's a secret between two, but it's really a ripple across 20. She offered to send over her documentation. I don't want revenge, she said, but I will testify if it helps. I thanked her, and for the first time since all of this began, I didn't feel alone. The next Monday, Caitlin texted again. We need to talk. You're making things worse than they are. I didn't respond. That afternoon, the school called again, this time from the counselor's office. Apparently, Ava had told a classmate that her mom ran away to the ocean with a man